Hello. Welcome. For those of you who are watching me for the very first time, my name is James Ambroise, and on this channel we cover how to pay off debt faster than any other debt repayment method out there. We cover basic bookkeeping and accounting for someone who just started out a small business. We cover basic personal income tax to include a Schedule C, Schedule E, depreciation. I am also the author, creator of Ambroise Method 1.0 and Ambroise Method 2.0. Ambroise Method is a revolutionary debt repayment method that offers greater results in terms of reducing interest cost compared to debt snowball, debt avalanche, velocity banking. Real quick about my credentials. I have been or am a bookkeeper and accountant, QuickBooks Pro advisor, senior tax advisor, residential real estate investor, residential property manager, financial coach. And as always, before we get started with what's on the board, please allow me to shout out the name Jesus, my Lord, my God, my Creator. Thank you. All right, America, on the board we have this hypothetical scenario of somebody who filled out one of my Microsoft Excel worksheets, and the person provided me with these figures. For that, this person has a Capital One credit card, Regions HELOC, one main financial personal loan. Original loan amount, the credit limit, $8,100. APR 29%, balance owed $7,500, monthly payments charged $255.99. Availability, America, remember from prior lesson that the availability is the relationship between the credit limit and the balance owed. That relationship calls for a subtraction operation. 8,100 minus 7,500. That's how we arrive at $600, not taking into account the monthly payments charged. Okay. Credit utilization is the relationship between the balance owed and the credit limit. That relationship calls for a division operation. 7,500 divided by 8,100. That's how we arrive at 92.59%. Payment rate charge is the relationship between the monthly payments charged and the balance owed. That relationship calls for a division operation. $255.99 divided by 7,500. That's how we arrive at 3.41%. Okay? Now, we're doing a scenario for a single mom. Her income, she's on a bi-weekly pay period, so she gets paid on the 7th. The next paycheck won't come 14 days later on the 21st. And her total take-home pay is $4,493.12. Her expenses, $4,293.12. The expense, America, that's when we add all this amount that we have on the board. Every single one of them. And the total, again, $4,293.12. Now, out of these expenses, America, $3,000 could go on a credit card. Okay? These are the bills, the expenses that could go on a credit card. Electricity could go on a credit card. Water could go on a credit card. YouTube TV, $50 could go on a credit card. Netflix, $7 could go on a credit card. Cell phone, $194 could go on a credit card. Groceries, $500 could go on a credit card. Fuel for her vehicle, $380 could go on a credit card. Restaurant, $220 could go on a credit card. Beauty and skincare, $500 could go on a credit card. Clothes and shoes, $200 could go on a credit card. Her car insurance, $169 could go on a credit card. Property tax and insurance, okay? She has a Regions HELOC, okay? So she doesn't have a traditional mortgage, for lack of better term. She has a Regents HELOC on the house and the property tax and insurance. The total for these two, $200. Okay? And when we add them up, that's how we arrive at $3,000. And all these items could go on a credit card. Okay? $3,000. All right? Now her debt, $35,500. The debt, America, that's when we add all these balances. $7,500 plus $20,000 plus $8,000. That's how we arrive at $35,500. Okay? Now her cash flow, America, remember from prior lesson, that cash flow is the relationship between the income and the expense. That relationship calls for a subtraction operation, $4,493.12 minus $4,293.12. That's how we arrive at $200 in cash flow. Okay? Now, America, from past lesson, we've done a basic analysis of the alternative account, and that was from lesson number 5. So in lesson number 5, we've done a basic analysis of the alternative account. Today, America, we're going to be conducting an advanced analysis of an account that offers greater liquidity. So in the past, we've done basic analysis of the alternative account. Today, we're going to do an advanced analysis of the alternative account. And the alternative account we're going to do this analysis on going to be on the account that offers greater liquidity. Okay, so today, again, we're going to do an advanced analysis of the alternative account that offers greater liquidity. In this example, since we have a Regents HELOC on the board, so it's going to be about the Regents HELOC. Okay, America? All right, today we're doing case study number 15, and today's date is February 9, 2025. Okay. That's the day that I'm doing the video. All right, America, I'll give you about 5-10 seconds to take a look at what's on the board, and then we're going to start with the exercise. All right, America. Remember that Ambroise Method calls for a series of steps, and those steps have to be taken at least once a month. And the step, for those of you who missed that lesson: segregate, compare, transfer, repeat, cash flow or large payment, and then we have to answer the what? WHT. W, which account or accounts to use. H, how much of a payment to send to this account, and T, to pay down or off which debt. Okay, these are the steps, America, for Ambroise Method, and those steps have to be taken at least once a month. All right, America, now let's segregate. And the way we segregate, America, we segregate by account types. That is, looking at the list of debt, and I prefer my revolving credit account on top and my installment credit account at the bottom. Capital One credit card, that's a credit card, so that's revolving credit account. Regents HELOC, that is in the draw period. For our purpose, America, when the HELOC is in the draw period, it's considered a revolving credit account. When the HELOC is in the repayment period, for our purpose only, not for credit report purposes, for our purpose only, it is considered an installment credit account when it's in a repayment period. This Regions HELOC is in the draw period, so for our purpose, it is considered a revolving credit account. So Capital One, revolving, Regions HELOC, revolving, One Main Financial Personal Loan, that is a personal loan, so that is an installment credit account. So we have 2 revolvings, 1 installment. And the way I like to segregate, I prefer my revolvings on top, so we have the 2 revolving, they are on top, and One Main Financial, which is an installment credit account, it's at the bottom. So revolving on top, installment at the bottom. That is how we segregate on our method. Okay? And segregation in America, that's just to put some kind of order on the list. Okay? That way you know exactly when you're dealing with revolving credit account, you know exactly when you're dealing with installment credit account. That's all. Okay? Next, America, we compare. And the way we compare by APR between the different account types. Okay? Remember, we have 2 revolving, 1 installment. So between the 2 revolving, I prefer the higher APR on top. So between 29 and 12, 29 is higher or bigger, so 29 is on top. 12 is lower than 29, so 12 is at the bottom between the 2 revolving. Okay? Now, One Main Financial is a different kind. It's an installment credit account, so it's at the bottom by itself. So if we had more installment, okay, we'll list them highest to lowest. Okay? But in this case, we only have 1. Okay? So between the revolving, 29 is bigger than 12, so 29 is listed first. And again, 33 is a different kind, so 33 is by itself at the bottom. Okay? And when we compare in America, we're trying to identify the enemy. We're trying to identify the troublemaker. And the account that has the higher APR is generally the enemy. The account that has a higher APR is generally the troublemaker. Okay? So in this example, One Main Financial, 33%. That's the highest one. So One Main Financial is the enemy. One Main Financial is the troublemaker. Okay? And to save time, I've already rearranged the list. Okay? So next, America, we transfer. And the way we transfer, we always try to relocate balance from an account that has a higher APR. And we're always trying to dump some of these balances into accounts that have lower APRs, since we have multiple accounts with lower APRs. Okay? So we're going to try to relocate from absolute highest APR to absolute lowest APR. Okay? And the lowest APR is Regions HELOC, 12%. Okay? And again, folks, we always try to relocate balance from an account that has the higher APR. We're trying to dump that balance into accounts that have lower APR. Okay? For maximum interest savings, America. Okay? Now, when we take a look at the Regions HELOC, the original loan amount, the credit limit, $20,700. Balance owed, $20,000. Availability, not taking into account the monthly payments charge, so the availability is $700. Okay? Credit utilization, 96.62%. Okay? So we're already in the 90s on the Regions HELOC. Okay? So we have to be a little careful. Okay? So because we're already in the 90s, we only have $700 available. Okay? Not taking into account the monthly payments charged. Okay? So we are too close to 20,000 to the max, which is 20,700. So we have to be a little careful. Okay? So for that reason, we're not going to do any transfer. We are too close to the max. 20,700 is our limit. 20,000 is owed. Okay? We could do a little bit. We could do a little transfer, but the transfer would be so small, you know. It's kind of insignificant, really. So we're not going to do any transfer. Okay? So now we have to relocate balance from absolute highest APR to the next lowest APR. And the next lowest one now, after 12%, the next lowest one now is Capital One, 29%. Okay? So when we take a look at the Capital One, credit limit 8,100, balance owed 7,500, availability before we take into account the monthly payments charged, so which means our availability is even smaller. So this availability is only 600 bucks. Credit utilization 92.59%. Okay. So we're already in the 90s, America. Availability is only 600 bucks, not taking into account the monthly payments charged. Okay. So we don't have too much available. All right. So for that reason, America, we are not going to do any transfer. We're not going to relocate any of that 8,000, trying to dump it onto the Capital One 7,500. And again, too close to the credit limit. 8,100 is our limit. 7,500 is owed. Okay. And again, we could do a little bit, but it's so small, you know, we're not even going to bother with it. Okay. So now we cannot do any transfer. So going back to our steps. So segregate, compare, transfer. Now can we repeat the transfer? Well, we did not do any transfer to begin with because we were too close to the credit limit. Okay, so we cannot repeat the transfer. So now our next steps now is, can we use cash flow or can we make a large payment? America, sometimes in the middle of paying up debt, you might come across a big bonus check. Since single mom is on has a regular job, okay. She did not receive any bonus check. Sometimes, America, in the middle of paying up debt, you might come across a big income tax refund. Wow. And sometimes, America, in the middle of paying up debt, you might come across some additional funds or money that would constitute or represent a large payment. Single mom in this particular example did not have any of those, so we do not have any large payment. Okay, so now we're going to be dealing with cash flow. Okay. So now, America, let's figure out how much our new cash flow is. Okay, and the way we determine our cash flow, we take a look at the original monthly payments charge minus the new monthly payments charge. But in this example, we don't have any new monthly payments charge. We did not do any transaction at all. We did not do any transfer at all. Okay? So our cash flow gonna stay the same, 200 bucks, because we did not do any transaction at all in this particular example, to where our cash flow will change. Okay? So our cash flow will stay 200 bucks. And again, folks, we did not do any transactions at all. We did not do any transfer. We did not repeat the transfer. Okay? So cash flow will be 200 bucks. Okay? So cash flow will stay the same. All right? So going back to our steps, W, which account or accounts to use. Remember, America, on our method, Ambroise Method, we have two different types of users. We have what we call a normal user, and we have what we call an advanced user. On our method, for a normal user takes advantage of transfer. A normal user takes advantage of cash flow. Okay? A normal user on our method does not take advantage of the alternative account. Why? Because they don't quite understand the alternative account yet. Okay, that is a normal user. An advanced user on our method takes advantage of every item that we have on the board. An advanced user takes advantage of transfer. An advanced user takes advantage of the alternative account. And an advanced user takes advantage of cash flow. That is our TAC. Okay? TAC, TAC, okay, on our method. Okay? So today we're going to do a scenario for an advanced user. And again, folks, on our method, we have two different types of users. Okay? No other debt repayment method gives you so many options. Okay? Ambroise Method gives you two options. Normal user and an advanced user. Okay. All right, today we're going to do a scenario for an advanced user. In America, for an advanced user, we always try to identify three main accounts. The first one is first in line. First in line, or the account for greater results. In terms of reducing interest cost. Okay. The next account we're trying to identify for an advanced user is the next in line account, or the account for greater liquidity. And finally, on our method, for an advanced user, we're always trying to identify the alternative account. For movements of income and movements of expenses. Okay. All right, America. So now let's try to figure out three main accounts. And again, the first account is the first in line, or the account for greater results in terms of reducing interest costs. All right, well, let's take a look. Okay. We have Capital One, 29%, Regions HELOC, 12%, One Main Financial, 32%. And the account that will offer us greater results in terms of reducing interest costs is generally the account that has the higher APR. Well, One Main Financial, 33%, has the higher APR. So in this case, you'll be One Main Financial. Okay. Again, folks, when we send payment to One Main Financial, we're going to achieve greater results in terms of reducing interest cost. Okay. Remember, interest, America, is the cost of borrowing. You borrow the money, they charge you interest. Okay. So here, Regions HELOC, they charge you 12% interest for each dollar borrowed. Here, Capital One, they charge you 29% for each dollar borrowed. One Main Financial, 33% for each dollar borrowed. Okay? So you achieve greater result by attacking the account that has the higher APR generally. So in this example, we're going to be attacking One Main Financial as our first in-line account, or the account for greater results in terms of reducing interest cost. Okay? So now our next in-line account, or the account for greater liquidity. All right, well, let's take a look. One Main Financial. One Main Financial doesn't offer liquidity at all because, so One Main Financial got disqualified. Capital One credit card offers liquidity, and Regions HELOC also offers liquidity. So now we have two accounts to choose from. Capital One again offers liquidity, Regions HELOC offers liquidity. So which one is it going to be? Capital One is liquid up beside his regular payment, minimum payment, up to bills, expenses that could go on a credit card, because Capital One is a credit card. Okay? And we did say the bills, expenses that could go on a credit card, $3,000. So Capital One, okay, is liquid up to $3,000. Okay, not taking into account the minimum payment on the Capital One itself. Okay, But Regions HELOC, you could put all these expenses on Regions HELOC if you so choose. Okay? So Regions HELOC is not limited like Capital One is. Okay? So for that reason, they both offer liquidity, but Regions HELOC offers greater liquidity because we're looking for the next in line account or the account for greater liquidity. So that'll be Regions HELOC. Okay? And our third and final account is the alternative account for movements of income and movements of expenses. Okay? All right, let's take a look again. One Man Financial. One Man Financial is not an alternative account. So One Man Financial got disqualified because remember, an alternative account for our purpose, America, that is an account where income could come in and expenses could go out. In other words, deposit could come in and withdrawal could go out. One Man Financial, income could come in, but expenses cannot go out. You cannot use One Man Financial to pay a bills and expense. Okay? So One Man Financial got disqualified. Capital One, income could come in, expenses could go out in a Capital One. Regions HELOC, income could come in, expenses could go out in the Regions HELOC. So again, America, we have two accounts to choose from. So which one is it going to be? And for this alternative account for movement of income and movement of expenses, we generally look for the account that has the higher APR. Since One Man Financial got disqualified, the only two remaining. So let's take a look at the APR. Capital One, 29%. Regions HELOC, 12%. The one with the higher APR is Capital One between those two. Okay? And again, One Man Financial got disqualified. Okay? So Capital One will be our third and final account for an advanced user. Okay? So Capital One. All right, America. So now we've determined our three accounts. First in line, One Man Financial. Next in line, Regions HELOC. Alternative account for movement of income and movement of expenses, Capital One. Okay. So this is our three main account for an advanced user. Okay. So next step, we've determined which account. So we have One Man Financial, Regions HELOC, and Capital One. Next steps is the H, how much of a payment to send to these accounts. Okay. All right, America. So now let's figure out our numbers. Okay. So we have the regular payment. We have bills that could go on a credit card. Okay. We have other remainder bills that could not go on a credit card or other bills in general. Okay. We have cash flow. Then we have absorption opportunity. Okay? And then we have our total. Okay? All right. One Man Financial, the regular payment on One Man Financial is $513.30. the regular payment or the minimum payment on Regions HELOC, $253.83. And the regular payment or the minimum payment on Capital One is $255.99. Okay. Bills that could go on a credit card. Earlier, we said that the bills that could go on a credit card, the total $3,000. And Regions HELOC is not a credit card. One Man Financial is not a credit card. Capital One is a credit card. So bills that could go on a credit card, $3,000. We'll go to Capital One because Capital One is a credit card. Okay. Or the remainder bills that could not go on a credit card, or the remainder bills in general. Let's skip over that one for now. Cash flow. Remember, our cash flow was $200. Okay? Folks, cash flow is better served in the account that has the higher APR. When we take a look again, the account that has the higher APR, we have 12%, 29%, and 33%. The account that has the higher APR is One Man Financial. So cash flow will go to One Man Financial, $200. Okay. Absorptions. Let's leave absorption alone for now. Let's go back to other remainder bills. Okay. Remember, America, single mom, her take-home pay was $4,493.12. Okay, we're trying to figure out how much goes into the other category. So it'll be $4,493.12 minus all these amounts. So minus $513.30 minus $200 minus $253.83 minus $255.99 minus $3,000. So all the remainder bills that could not go on a credit card, or all the remainder bills in general, the account that offer greater liquidity will take care of that one. Remember, Regions was our second account, so Regions offer greater liquidity. So Regions will take care of all the remainder bills, $270. Okay, America? Now, when we take a look at Capital One credit card, let's start with Capital One first. We have two separate payments going to the Capital One credit card. And Capital One, America, is at 29%. Folks, remember, interest is the cost of borrowing money. You borrow the money, they charge you interest, okay? So we don't want to send too much payment to an account that is at 29% when we have a 33% account on the board. So for that reason, the account that offers greater results, which is One Man Financial, will absorb, will take away one of these two amounts. But which one will One Man Financial absorb? $255.99 is the minimum payment on Capital One. $3,000 is for bills, expenses that could go on a credit card. Okay. So we need $3,000 to take care of these bills. Okay. So in this example, we're going to observe the smaller amount, which is $255.99. Okay. All right. So $255.99 will be gone. We'll move it over here. Okay. All right, America. So which means now Capital One will be left only with 3,000 as far as total. Okay. All right, so now we're done with Capital One. Let's take a look at the Regions HELOC. Just like the Capital One America, Regions HELOC has two separate payments going to the Regions HELOC. $253.83, which is the regular payment on the Regions, and $270, which cover bills, expenses that could not go on a credit card, which is this prepaid college tuition for single mom. So prepaid college tuition for the benefit of her daughter, $270, because that one could not go on a credit card. Okay. So, and again, two payments going to Regions HELOC, $253.83, regular monthly payment, $270 to cover this one item that could not go on a credit card. Okay. And again, we have two payments going to the Regions HELOC. So, the account that offers greater results, One Man Financial, will absorb one of these two amounts. Why? And again, folks, these are borrowed money. Okay? And interest is the cost of borrowing. You borrow the money, they charge you interest. Okay? So you got to attack the proper account. Okay? So that is why One Man Financial will absorb one of these two amounts. So which one will you absorb? 253 is the smaller amount, 270 is the higher amount. Okay? And when we take a look at Regions HELOC still have a little bit of availability. Okay? Because remember, on our method, Ambroise Method, we have three different types of absorptions. We have what we call a full absorption. We have what we call a partial absorption, for lack of better terms. And we have what we call a no absorption. Okay? Regions still have availability, America. Okay? Even if we take into account the monthly payment charge on Regions HELOC, it's going to be a little less than $700, so we're still going to have availability. Okay? So we're going to have another full absorption. So One Man Financial will absorb the full amount, $253.83. And again, folks, we do not want to send too much payment to an account that is at 12% when we have a 33% account on the board. Okay? It's $253.83. Okay? All right, so this one will be gone. So we're going to get moved over here. Okay? So which means Regions HELOC only going to get to keep $270. All right, America. So now let's figure out our total for one main financial. And as you could see, America, on our method, we show zero respect to the HELOC. We show zero respect to the account that offers greater liquidity. Why? Because that account is at 12%. Okay? Again, folks, interest is the cost of borrowing money. You borrow the money, they charge you interest. Okay? So that is why you need to do the standard, which is attacking the higher APR account. Okay? Because for each cycle, okay, remember the lender earned the interest on you. Once the interest is gone, it's gone. Okay? They're earning on you, for whatever cycle. During the cycle, I should say. Okay? So, folks, there is truly nothing special about an HELOC. Okay? On our method, we observe the HELOC. We remove figures or amount from the HELOC. We take away figures or amount from the HELOC. Again, folks, there is nothing special at all about an HELOC. Okay? That is why we observe the HELOC. We're stealing from the HELOC. We're taking away payments from the HELOC. Okay? All right, now let's figure out our total for one man financial. So we have $513.30 plus $200 plus $253.83 plus $255.99. Let me take a look at my numbers one more time. $513.30, $200, $253.83, $255.99. Our total, so one man financial get to keep $1,223.12. Okay? All right, America. So going back to our step, how much one man financial gets to keep $1,223.12. Regents HELOC gets to keep only $270. And Capital One gets to keep $3,000. Okay, America? So that was the H, how much that goes into these accounts. And the last and final steps is the T, to pay down or off which debt. Okay, that'll be our workflow. Okay, for our workflow. Remember, a single mom, she gets paid on the 7th, and the next paycheck will come 14 days later on the 21. Okay, so let's take out the first paycheck first on the 7th and the 21. So first paycheck will cover anything between the 7th all the way to the 20th, 20. The next paycheck, anything from the 21 towards the end of the month. Okay, all right. So let's take out our first paycheck first. Remember, our total take-home pay is $4,493.12. Let's assume that these two paychecks were equal. So it would be 4,000 $493.12 divided by 2. Assuming these two paychecks were equal, 4,493.12, 4,493.12 divided by 2. So the first paycheck will have $2,246.56 on the first, and $2,246.56 on the second paycheck. Okay. All right. Remember, we have three accounts that we're dealing with. One main financial, Regions HELOC, and Capital One. Okay? All right, this is when in America you have to pay attention to the due dates, especially for bills, expenses that you need cash or cash equivalent for. Okay? Electricity due on the 28th, and again, we're taking care of the first paycheck first. Okay? The first paycheck covers anything between the 7th all the way to the 20th, 20. Okay? This one's on 28 to 8, that's after the 7th, after the 20th. 28th, 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 all these after the 7th, after the 20th. So we don't have to worry about these in the first paycheck, for the first paycheck. Groceries doesn't have a due date. I guess single mom could do her groceries towards the end of the month in order to give the alternative account a boost. Okay? So fuel, she has no choice, but she has to put fuel in her vehicle once a week, and the total is $380. So 380 divided by 4 weeks roughly, so $95. So the account that will take care of the bills that could go on a credit card, that's Capital One. Capital One has more than $95 available. So Capital One has $600 available, not taking into account the monthly payments charge. Even after taking into account the monthly payments charge, 600 minus 255, 99, 344. 344 is still bigger than $95, which is 380 divided by, where am I? Right here. 380 divided by 4. Okay, less than $100. 344 is bigger than, even if it was $100, 344 is bigger than 100. So we have enough available in the Capital One to cover this fuel, so we're not going to have any issue. Okay. Restaurant doesn't have a due date. I guess she could wait towards the end of the month to go to the to go dining out, to go to the restaurant, in order to give the alternative account, which is Capital One, a boost. Okay. Beauty and skincare, same thing. Doesn't have a due date, so she could wait towards the end of the month to shop for beauty and skincare. Okay. Just to help out this alternative account. Remember, folks, most of these accounts, the way they compute the interest, they use the average daily balance method to compute the interest. Okay. So you do not want to charge these accounts any earlier than you need to. Okay. If you have to, then you have no choice. But if you don't have to, wait towards the end of the month before you charge the account. Okay. Car insurance, closing shoes, $200. doesn't have a due date, she could wait towards the end of the month to shop for closing shoes. Car insurance is due on the 26th. Okay, 169. Okay, 26 is after the 7th, after the 20th. Okay. Property tax and insurance due on the 28th, and again, that's after the 7th, after the 20th. Okay. Prepaid college due on the 24th. Again, after the 7th, after the 20th. Capital One is due on the 28th. And again, after we're dealing with the first paycheck first. So after the 7th, after the 20th. So we have no issue there. Regents HELOC is due on the 10th. 10th is between 7th and 20th. Okay? So we have to take care of this Regents HELOC on the first paycheck. Okay? And the amount, the total is $253.83. So we have to reserve $253.83 in the first paycheck to go to the Regents HELOC. Okay? 253.83. 253.83. Okay? All right, America. One Main Financial personal loans due on the 28th to 8. And again, that's after the 1st. After the 7th, after the 20th. So we don't have to worry about that at all. Okay? So all due dates are accounted for. Okay? The only one that created a little problem for us was the fuel, because she has to put fuel in the vehicle once a week. Okay? So she could not wait towards the end of the month for this fuel. Every week she has to put fuel in the vehicle. In any event, she has enough available in the Capital One to cover the fuel. Okay? And this Regents HELOC due on the 10th. Okay, so she's gonna reserve $253.83 to take care of this Regents HELOC on the first paycheck. Okay? So now, which means now that the account that offers greater liquidity now has priority. So we have $1,223.12 supposed to go to One Main Financial. So $1,223.12. Okay. Remember, the paycheck total was 224656. So we have 224656 minus 122312 minus 253.83, which means now Capital One will get the remainder, $769.61. Okay? Again, folks, when you add these three up, you should arrive at the amount on the first paycheck, $2,246.56. Okay? 1223.12 plus 253.83 plus 769.61. Sure enough, 224656. 224656. Okay. That was in the first paycheck. Now, on the second paycheck, this paycheck covers anything between the 21st, 21, all the way to the end, towards the end of the month. Okay. One Main Financial needs to have total $1,223.12. One Main Financial received the entire amount on the first paycheck. Okay. So now One Main Financial not gonna receive anything on the second paycheck. Okay. Regents HELOCs needs to have total $270. Regents HELOC only received $253.83. Now Regents HELOC gonna get the remainder on the second paycheck. $270 minus $253.83. So Regents HELOC gets to receive $16.17 on the second paycheck. Okay. And Capital One needs to have total $3,000. Okay. Capital One only received $769.61 on the first paycheck. So now Capital One will get the remainder. $3,000 minus 769.61. Okay, Capital One will receive $2,230.39 on the second paycheck. And when we add them up, we should arrive at this total. So 1617 plus 2230.39. Okay, sure enough, $2,246.56. Okay, so which means our numbers are perfect. Okay, so we've done with all the steps. Okay, for this cycle. And the following cycle, we're gonna do the same exact thing. Okay, and I'll repeat those steps again. And again, we do them at least once a month. The steps again: segregate, compare, transfer, repeat, cash flow, large payment, then we have to insert the what. Okay? We do those steps at least, America, once every month or once every cycle. Okay? Alright, America, I'll give you about 5-10 seconds to take a look at what's on the board, and then we're going to continue with the exercise. All right, America. On the board, I have some of the items that the income or the paycheck covers. Okay? And for lack of better terms, America, our debt repayment equation, for lack of better terms, so our debt repayment equation, put that on the board. Debt repayment equations is income equals expenses plus cash flow. Okay? That's the income, $4,493.12. Okay? These are the expenses, $4,293.12. Okay? Plus the cash flow. Cash flow is $200. Okay? And again, folks, income again was $4,493.12. So $4,493.12. Okay? Equals the expense, $4,293.12 plus the cash flow, $200. $200. Okay? So 4,490.12 equals 4,490.12. Okay? That's our debt repayment equation, for lack of better terms, America. Okay? Now, this equation, America, on the board, I wanted to itemize it. I wanted to break it down even further. Okay? So we have cash flow. We have bills, expenses that can be paid with a credit card. We have the trade line, excluding the HELOC. We have the HELOC, the principal payment portion. We have the HELOC, the interest payment portion. Then we have bills, expenses that cannot be paid with a credit card. Okay? And the reason why I wanted to break this thing down even further, reason why I wanted to itemize it, is because we're trying to see if we could help some of the folks of our Velocity Banking Group, or at least if we could help some of the followers, okay? Because these folks over at Velocity Banking Group, some of them or all of them are misinformed, okay? So today I want to break them down even further. Again, remember folks, today we're doing an advanced analysis of the account that offers greater liquidity, which is the Regions HELOC in this example. Okay? Greater results, greater liquidity, alternative account for movements of income and movement of expenses. So with the Regions HELOCs offers greater liquidity. Okay? So earlier we said bills, expenses that cannot be paid with a credit card. Okay? That was the other remainder bills, $270, okay? And that amount went to the account that offered greater liquidity, so $270. Okay? The HELOC, the interest payment portion on the HELOC itself, remember, this Regions HELOC America charges principal and interest. We have some HELOC that only charges interest only, but this particular Regions HELOC charges principal and interest. Okay? And the principal and interest payment was $253.83. Okay? So let's try and break it down even further. Okay? So on 20,000, the principal and interest portion was $253.83. Okay? That's the principal and interest portion. So let's figure out how much the interest payment portion was. Okay? Well, let's take care of the principal payment first. This particular Regions HELOC charges 1/360th of the outstanding balance, which was 20,000, plus interest. Okay? So America interest is interest. So this 1/360th gonna represent principal. Okay? So let's see how much is 1/360th of 20,000, because the balance on the Regions HELOC on day one of that particular cycle was 20,000. So 20,000 divided by 360. So the principal portion will be 55, 56. We're going to round up, okay? So the principal payment portion, 55, 56, okay? Which means now that the interest, remember total, they're charging $253.83. So $253.83 minus $55.56, $55.56. So the interest portion will be $198.27. Okay? When you add them up again, that's how we arrive at $253.83. $253.83. So interest, $198.27. And again, folks, we're doing an advanced analysis of the alternative account that offers greater liquidity, which is the Regions HELOC. Okay? So that's the breakdown on the Regions HELOC itself. And again, when you add these two up, we should arrive at the 253.83. 253.83. Okay? Now, the trade lines excluding the HELOC, okay, because we wanted to talk about the HELOC separately, okay, and the HELOC is a trade lines. America, the traditional trade lines are the items that get reported on your credit, that is shown on your credit report, okay? That Capital One will be shown on your credit report, Regions HELOC will be shown on your credit report, and One Main Financial will be shown on your credit report, okay? These are the traditional trade lines, okay? So excluding the HELOC because we wanted to break down the HELOC separately, okay? So which means the traditional trade lines will be only these two items, the Capital One credit card and the One Main Financial, because we've already talked about the HELOC separately, okay? Well, let's see how much they are. Capital One, we are 25599, 25599 plus One Main Financial 51330. Okay, so the traditional trade lines excluding the HELOC, the total for those will be $769.29. Okay. All right. Bills, expenses that can be paid with a credit card. We said earlier that the bills, expenses that can be paid with a credit card was all these bills, all these expenses. Okay. And the total was $3,000. Okay. So $3,000 will go here. Okay. And cash flow, we did say that cash flow was $200. $200. So cash flow is $200. Okay, folks? And again, this is all the items that your total income covers. And when we add them up, $200 plus $3,000 plus $769.29 plus $55.56 plus $198.27 plus $270. So now we are at $4,493.12. Sure enough, $4,493.12. Okay? Which is the income, $4,493.12. Okay? Which is all these expenses. This is all the expenses plus the cash flow, plus the $400. Okay? So when we're talking America, when we're talking about all income or all your paycheck for somebody who's on a regular traditional 9-to-5 job, okay? This is the breakdown. Okay? So, all your income covers all these items. Okay? This is all the income, $4,493.12 again, $4,493.12, which is the $200 in cash flow. So cash flow plus expenses, or expenses plus cash flow. $3,000 for bills, expenses that can be paid with a credit card. $769.29, $55.56, $198.27, and $270. When you add these up, again, the total $4,493.12. Okay? Now, and again, folks, today we're doing an advanced analysis of the alternative account that offers greater liquidity. In this case, Regions HELOC. Okay. Reason why I wanted to break this thing down, because my competitor, Velocity Banking Group, likes to dump all the income or all the paycheck into the HELOC, which is the account that offers greater liquidity. Okay? Let's see what they're doing wrong and let's see what they're doing right. Okay? America, when you're paying off debt, think of it like your own debts, your own trade lines, okay? Which is capital and credit card, Regions HELOC, and one-man financial personal loan. Think of them like they are in competition with themselves. They are in competition with one another. So Capital One is in competition with Regions HELOC. Capital One is in competition with One Man Financial. Regions HELOC is in competition with Capital One. Regions HELOC is in competition with One Man Financial. One Man Financial is in competition with Capital One. One Man Financial is in competition with Regions HELOC. They are in competition with themselves. They are in competition with one another to see which account will get to keep what. Okay? So that is why I itemize it. So let's start with the bills, the expenses that cannot be paid with a credit card. Okay? And again, these three, they are in competition with themselves. Okay? Now, it is bills, expense that cannot be paid with a credit card. So which means the credit card got disqualified. So Capital One got disqualified. Capital One cannot receive this amount, which is $270. Okay? Bills, expenses that cannot be paid with a credit card. So Capital One got disqualified. Okay? Because Capital One is a credit card. Those bills cannot be paid with a credit card. And the amount was $270. $270 was for the prepaid college, okay? This particular servicer will not accept payment with a credit card, okay? So you cannot pay this prepaid college tuition with a credit card instantly. There are still creative ways on how we could manage to pay the prepaid college with a credit card, but we're talking about instantly. You cannot pay this prepaid college with a credit card, okay? Now, remember, all your accounts are always in competition with themselves. They are in competition with one another. So since Capital One got disqualified, so the next one now will be One Man Financial. Okay? One Man Financial, America, is a personal loan. So you cannot pay bills with a personal loan. So One Man Financial will also get disqualified. So in that case, only the Regions HELOC gets to keep this amount, $270. Okay? And for lack of better terms, let's call this one level 1. Okay? So Regions HELOC gets to keep the $270. Regions HELOC, $270. Okay? Let's move up one step. Now we're dealing with the interest payment on the HELOC itself. Remember, we had to break it down because this Regions HELOC is made up of both principal and interest. Okay? So the principal portion was $55.56. The interest portion was $198.27. Okay? Let's see, and again, folks, all our debts, all our trade lines are always in competition with one another to see who gets to keep what. Okay? This HELOC, the interest payment portion, well, who gets to keep it? Okay? HELOC America, the HELOC is at 12%. Capital One 29%. Women Financial 33%. Okay? So, since he has the word HELOC on it, HELOCs get to keep it real quick. Okay? So HELOC gets to keep 198.27 if we're trying to break it down. Okay? But HELOC already has a payment. Okay? So this one plus that amount will be two separate payments going to the HELOC. Okay? And when we look at the availability on the HELOC, $700, not taking into account the monthly payments charged. Okay? So over here, if the HELOC gets to keep the 198.27, okay, which means it's going to relinquish the principal portion. So if it gets to keep the interest, it's going to let go the principal portion. Okay, so that would have been a partial absorption. And again, folks, we're doing an advanced analysis of the alternative account that offer greater liquidity. Okay? So, if the HELOC gets to keep the interest portion only, which means we would send the 55.56 somewhere else. So that will be a partial absorption. Not a full absorption, because the full amount was 253.83. So if he only gets to keep the 198 and let go the principal portion, so you would have been a partial absorption. Okay? So let's go one step higher. If the HELOC gets to keep both the interest portion and the principal portion, okay? So this one would be a no absorption. Because in this case, we wouldn't be absorbing anything. The account that offers greater results will not be absorbing anything because the HELOC kept everything. If the HELOC keeps everything, so One Man Financial will not get to absorb anything. But that wasn't the case. One Man Financial got to absorb the total, which is 198.27 plus 55.26. And the total was 253.83. 253.83. Okay? So let's go one step higher. Okay? So we were here. Now the trade lines. And again, we're doing an advanced analysis on the account that offer greater liquidity, which is the Regent's HELOC. If the HELOC gets to keep the trade lines, and the total for the remainder trade lines was the Capital One, 255.99 plus One Man Financial, 513.30. Okay? Altogether, 255.99, 513.30, that's how we arrive at 769.29. If the HELOC gets to keep the trade lines, not including the HELOC itself, okay? That would have been when you're having movements inside the HELOC, so movement of income and movement of expenses inside the HELOC, okay? If you're having favorable results inside the HELOC, then you get to keep the monthly payments charge on the two trade lines. Okay? So, over here will be favorable, let's just put favorable results. For having movements of income and expenses. Okay? Sometimes, depending on the example, if dumping all your paycheck inside the HELOC will give you favorable results, okay? When you dump all your income, when you have a movement of income and movement of expenses inside the HELOC, then in that case, you send whatever payment portion that would normally be earmarked for the other trade lines, you send them to the HELOC, okay? But again, in this example, that was not the case, okay? Let's go one step higher. Bills, expenses that can be paid with a credit card. Here they were, $3,000, okay? So, the only time the HELOC gets to keep the bills, the expenses that can be paid with a credit card, it could be in a case where, because remember, credit card generally have, like in this Capital One, 29%. So the interest rate on a credit card is considerably higher in this example than the interest rate on the HELOC, okay? So the only time the HELOC will get to keep the bills, expenses that can be paid with a credit card will be if you're taking advantage of a promotional period. Say, for example, on the Capital One, okay, they are offering you %0 promotional, so 0% balance transfers for, say, 12 months, 18 months, 15 months, or they're offering you 1.99% APR on balance transfers. For whatever period. 6 months, 12 months, 15 months, 18 months. In a situation like this, the HELOC, okay, will get to keep the bills, the expenses that can be paid with a credit card, because you're not going to send payment to an account that is at 0%. You're not going to send that $3,000 to a 0% balance transfer account if the account was at 0% APR, okay? When on the HELOC, they were charging you 12%, okay? For a situation like this, the bills, the expenses that can be paid with a credit card, the HELOC will get to keep those, okay? So now let's go one step higher, which is the cash flow, okay? One of the situations where the HELOC will keep the cash flow will be if the interest rate on the HELOC is considerably higher than the interest rate on the rest of the accounts. So, Regions HELOC, so interest rate considerably higher. Okay? So in a situation like this, the HELOC gets to keep the cash flow. And again, folks, we're doing an advanced analysis on the account that offer greater liquidity, which is the Regions HELOC. Okay? And I'm showing you when the Regions HELOC gets to keep what. Okay? Bills, expenses that cannot be paid with a credit card. Well, the credit card already got disqualified. The next account we have on the list is One Man Financial. Okay? One Man Financial, it's a personal loan. You cannot pay bills with One Man Financial. So the HELOC will get to keep this amount. Okay? Let's go one step higher. The interest payment portion. Okay? Which was 198.27. Remember, it was 253.83, and we broke it down. So 198.27 plus 55.56 for principal. So now the interest portion. Okay? The interest portion is inside this 253.83. But because we have two payments going to the Regions HELOC, remember, Regions HELOC already capped the 270. Now we're going to have an additional payment or additional payments going to the Regents HELOC. Okay? To see, remember, those accounts are always in competition with themselves to see who gets to keep what. Okay? The reason why in this example, Regents HELOC did not get to keep the interest payment portion, okay, was because we still had room in the Regents HELOC. $700, okay? And the HELOC was at a lower APR, 12%. And again, folks, we're not going to send payment to an account that is at 12% when we have another account, 33% on the board. Let's see, 33 minus 12, a difference of 21%, okay? So we're not going to send payment to a 12% account when we have a 33% account on the board, okay? Too large of a difference, okay? Too big of a difference. Even if you dump all the income into the HELOC, well, let's dump it real quick just to see. Okay, we had 20,000, and this HELOC charges, the way they arrive at the monthly interest cost for the cycle, they use average daily balance, including new transaction with compounded. Okay, so let me go to my proprietary calculator for what the interest would have been, even if we dumped the entire $4,493.12 into the HELOC. Put in my password. The HELOC was at 12%, 20,000. Even if we dump the entire income, 4,493.12 on day one. So minus 4,493.12. So remember, we're gonna dump all that income into the account. So the balance was at 20,000. The income gonna reduce the balance. So minus 4,493.12. Okay. So which means the interest cost for the cycle would have been 153.74. So interest cost 153.74. Okay. Let me see how much that represents. Remember 20,000. So if we ended up with an interest cost of 153.74 for the cycle, so we had 153.74 for the cycle. So 153. I have 7.687. Let me run it. Making sure I did not make any mistake. $153.74. I'm at 9.22. 9.2244. Let me run it one more time. 20,000. Sure enough, 150 is 20. So you would have been 20,000 times, okay, let's use a sample 9.22%, 9.2244%. Divided by 12 for the month. Okay, if we're using a sample formula, 9.2244% divided by 12. Sure enough, 153.74. 153.74, 153.74. So the interest on the HELOC, even if we dump all the income, not even taking into account the expense, okay? So you would have been, America, $20,000. So income comes in, which is $4,493.12, okay? And expense supposed to go up. But in this case, instead of showing that the expense is $4,293, we're gonna reduce the expense all the way to zero, okay? Which gonna pretty much give you a cash flow equally as large as the income, which is $4,493.12, okay? So even if we give these folks over at Velocity Banking free cash flow, okay? So we only show that the income comes in, we show that no expense goes out to pay these bills because we reduce these expenses all the way to zero, okay? The monthly interest charge for the cycle would be $153.74, the monthly interest charge portion, okay? Not taking into account this 368th. So that's $153.74, just the interest portion, okay? If we keep things simple, $153.74 represents 9.22%. Remember, initially it was at 12%. So 12% minus 9.22, okay? 9.22. So we are at, so 12 minus 9.22, so we are at 2.78, okay? So even after you have movements of income, even after you dump all your income into this account, and we didn't even take into account the expense, okay? Your savings, okay? Your interest savings, it goes from 12% to 9.22 on the HELOC. So a savings of 2.78, okay? 2.78 savings, even after you dump all the income on day one, okay? Just to overstate their income, their performance. And we're not even taking into account the expense. Their savings only gonna be 2.78. 2.78 in savings, okay, is still less than the difference that you're losing, because the difference is 21%. And again, 33 minus the 12, okay? 33 minus 12, 21%. So you're saving 2.78 for having movement of income and movement of expenses, but you're losing somewhere else, 21%. Okay? So we're not gonna try to save $2.78, 2.78%, so we could lose 21% somewhere else. Okay? That is why, America, you do not dump all your income into an account that offers greater liquidity, which is Regions HELOC. Okay? And we overstated everything for them to still show it's not gonna work. The expense is supposed to be $4,293.12. We reduce the expense all the way to zero. Just to improve the numbers a little bit. Even after all this gift, okay, their savings, their interest savings, it goes from 12, the effective rate on the Regions HELOC itself would be 9.22, a savings of 2.78, okay? the difference was too large to overcome. That difference was 21% between the one-man financial, 33%, and the Regent's HELOC itself. Okay? That is why you do not dump all your income into an account that offers greater liquidity. Okay? Because you're going backwards. Remember, America, interest is the cost of borrowing. You borrow the money, they charge you interest. Okay? So why then would I want to save 2.78% when I'm losing 21% somewhere else? And once the interest is gone, once they earn that cost on you, it's gone. Okay? So that is why you need to work on it every single month, every single cycle. Okay? So again, folks, we try to educate some of the folks over at Velocity Banking Group, or either them or some of the followers, as to why we do not dump all of our paycheck or all of our income into an account that is at 12% when we have other accounts on the board where the interest rate on these other accounts are considerably higher. Remember, your trade lines, America, are always in competition with themselves to see who gets to keep what. And these are these items. Who gets to keep this one, or that one, or that one, or this one, or this one, or that one. Okay? They're always in competition with themselves. That is why on our method we observe whatever extra payment that would normally go to the HELOC, because we understood that keeping payments inside the HELOC gonna yield some of the worst results ever. 2.78, I'm losing when I'm losing 21%. Okay. All right, America? So do not dump all your income into a 12% HELOC. Okay? Why? Because again, these accounts are always in competition with themselves to see who gets to keep what. And when I itemize them, it's easy to see now that the HELOC doesn't even get to keep its own interest payment portion, which was the 198.27, doesn't get to keep its principal payment portion, which was 55.56, altogether 253.83. Okay? That is why, again, on our method, we observe the HELOC, because we understood that that payment is better served to go somewhere else, to the account that offers greater results in terms of reducing interest costs, which is one-man financial in this example. Okay? And again, even after we overstated everything, we make the income so large, 449,312. We make the expense so little, 0, just so we could prove the numbers a little bit. So which means we're going to have a cash flow equally as large as the income. Cash flow going to be $4,493.12, just like the income. And I don't know anybody in America that have this large of a cash flow. Not when we're living paycheck to paycheck. Okay? At least no regular Americans have that large of a cash flow. So even if we were to inflate all the numbers, okay, it still would not make no sense to dump all your income into a 12% HELOC. Okay? So the HELOC doesn't even get to keep his own interest payment portion. The HELOC doesn't even get to keep on our method his own principal payment portion. Okay? Let alone the trade lines, let alone bills, expenses that can be paid with a credit card. Because the credit card, again, was at 29%, the HELOC was at 12%. This one, the difference is what? 29 minus 12, okay, 27, so I'm at 17. That's comparing with the credit card, which was capital 1. 17%. So I'm losing 17%, but I'm saving 2.78 somewhere else. Doesn't make no sense to be saving 278 somewhere else for dumping all your income into the HELOC, okay? But you're losing 17% somewhere else, which is the difference between the capital 1 29% and the Regions HELOC 12%. 29 minus 12 is 17%. This one 33 minus 12, 21%. This one 29 minus 12, 17%. Okay? So again, folks, I wanted to address some of my competitors or some of the followers who likes to dump all the income into an account that offers greater liquidity. Okay? In this particular example, don't do it. Don't do it. As you can see, you're going to be going backwards. Okay? Your effective rate going to be about 9.22%. Let's say your effective rate was 9%. Still, 12 minus 9 would have been 3%. So 3% savings when you're losing 17% somewhere else, when you're losing 21% in difference somewhere else. Even if it was 3% savings, let's say this one was 12 minus 9 instead of 9.22. Okay? The numbers still will not work, America. And again, folks, do not dump all your income into an account that offers greater liquidity. Okay? You will be going backwards. Again, folks, all your trade lines, they're always in competition with themselves to see who gets to keep what. Okay? And this HELOC, this Regions HELOC, offers greater liquidity. This account doesn't even offer convenience. And what do I mean by that? Even if you were to dump all your income into an HELOC, to pay those bills, because remember now, you dump all your income into the HELOC, which means now the HELOC will take care of all the bills, the expenses. Okay? So greater results, but not convenience, because to pay those bills, you have to move the funds from the HELOC back to your checking account and have the checking account take care of these bills, these expenses. Because most of the HELOC, especially these traditional HELOC, they do not have the so-called sweep account feature. Okay? So you cannot pay a bill directly with a HELOC. You cannot even have automatic payment from a HELOC. You have to move, at least for now, okay? You have to move the funds from the HELOC back to the checking account. And from there, you could have automatic payment, or you could physically pay the bills with the HELOC. Okay? Compared to a credit card, you could have automatic payment taken out of the credit card. You could have your electricity. You could have this $450 taken out automatically from your credit card. Water, you could have this $130 taken out of the credit card. Okay. So now, I'm not saying because they do not offer convenience, that you need to go ahead and apply for one of these accounts that have a sweep feature. No. Okay? Because you're going to be going back to where you started. If it is one that offers some kind of sweep, which means you're gonna have the same problem because now they're gonna dump all your paycheck into that account. Okay? Remember, we do not want all our income or all our paycheck to be dumped into the Regent's HELOC. Again, you'll be going backwards because for each day that the money sits, whether it's a traditional HELOC or one of the HELOC that has a sweep account feature, for each additional day that the money sits in that account, you'll be going backwards. Okay? Again, folks, the result don't lie. 2.78, the worst case scenario, 3%, the best case scenario, still smaller than 17%, still smaller than this difference, 21%. Okay? That is why a lot of times I mentioned to you guys that the HELOC, let me put it over here, that the HELOC, the PLOC, the BLOC, all in one loan, first lien HELOC, the old ones, one-way sweep, first lien HELOC, the newer ones, two-way sweep. That is why a lot of times I keep saying that all these accounts are poor performing alternative accounts, or they are poor performing debt weapon or debt tools. Okay? Why? Because of the way my competitor uses these accounts. Okay? And the way these folks a lot of times uses these accounts, they want to dump all the income into that account. Okay, and we proved earlier that dumping all the income into that account, you're going to be going backwards. And again, folks, for each day that the fund sits inside these accounts, okay, you're earning your best case scenario 2.78% or 3%, but you're losing somewhere else 21%, 17%. Okay? So dumping all your paycheck, America, into an account that offers greater liquidity is not one of the worst things you could do. It is the absolute worst thing you could do. Not one of the worst things you could do. The absolute worst things you could do in this particular example. Okay? So don't do it. And again, folks, you're going to be going backwards. Don't be an enemy to yourself. Your debt, your traditional trade lines are always in competition with themselves to see who gets to keep what. Okay, America? So, I wanted to kind of break this thing down a little bit because my competitor, these folks are misinformed. Okay? So bills, expense that can be paid with a credit card, that's one level. Okay? Interest payment portion, that's another level. The principal portion, that's another level. The trade lines, to see if the account that offers greater liquidity gets to keep the trade lines. That's another level. Bills, expense that cannot be paid with a credit card, that can be paid with a credit card. That's another level. And finally, cash flow is another level. Okay? For lack of better terms, we're going to call this right here level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, level 5, level 6. Okay? Again, folks, all the incomes, if we try to itemize it, all the incomes include all these items. All the incomes, all your paycheck include cash flow, which was $200. Bills, expenses that can be paid with a credit card, which was $3,000. The other trade lines, excluding the HELOC, these two other trade lines, when you add them up, 255.99 plus 513.33, we had 769.29. Okay? The HELOC itself, the principal payment portion, 55.56. That is that 1/360th of 20,000. So 20,000 divided by 3/60th. So we had 55.56. The difference is the interest portion. So 253.83 minus 55.56. The difference is 198.27. And bills, expenses that cannot be paid with a credit card was this prepaid college. Okay? $270. $270. When you add them up, okay? 200 plus 3,000 plus 769.29 plus 55.56 plus 198.27 plus 270. That's how we arrive at the total for all the income, all the paycheck, $4,493.12. $4,493.12. Okay? America, I wanted to itemize it so you guys could see the mistake that my competitor is making a lot of times when you dump all the income into an account that offers greater liquidity, which is the Regions HELOC in this example. So, in essence, you're dumping all these items inside the HELOC. You cannot dump all these items inside the HELOC, okay, when the difference in interest rate is so large. 33 minus 12, 33 minus 12, 21%. Too large to overcome. 29 minus 12, 29 minus 12, 17%. Too large to overcome. Okay? And again, folks, interest is the cost of borrowing money. You borrow the money, they charge you interest. Okay? So don't be doing this nonsense about dumping all your income into an account that offers greater liquidity. Because all you're saving, your best case scenario, it was what? 9.22. So that became your effective rate. From 12%, now it's 9.22, less than 3% savings. Okay? Less than 3% savings, while you're losing 17%. Less than 3% saving, while you're losing 21% in difference. Okay? So don't do it. Don't ever do anything like that. You have to first run the numbers to see if this thing even makes no sense. Okay? Majority of the time, it will not make any sense to dump all your income or all your paycheck into a Regions HELOC. Okay, America? I think I've gone over this thing long enough. All right, America, I'll give you about 5-10 seconds to take a look at what's on the board, and then we're going to continue with the exercise. So, my competitor, Velocity Banking Group, okay, most of these folks only know one way on how to use this alternative account for greater liquidity. Okay? Most of them only know one way is to dump all the income, all the paycheck into the account that offer greater liquidity, which is, for lack of better terms, level 6. Okay? Because we have level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, level 5, level 6, when you keep the cash flow and everything else. Okay? Because all your income, again, include all of these items. Okay? For us, over at Ambroise Method, the only thing that the account that offers greater liquidity gets to keep temporarily is this 270. This 270 was the prepaid college. This 270 was bills, expenses that cannot be paid with a credit card. Okay? For us, they stay at level 1. We do not upgrade them to anywhere else. You see the difference? But my competitor, for lack of better terms, not only level 1, not only level 2, not only level 3, not only level 4, not only level 5, all the way to level 6 for my competitor. Okay? An account that is at 12%, you're dumping all your income into an account that is at 12%. Okay? America, this is equivalent to madness. These folks, they're getting greedy, talking about my competitor, Velocity Banking Group, dumping all the income into an HELOC. They are getting greedy. Look at us. So in essence, they will be keeping all of these items, especially the cash flow, for 3 months. 6 months, 9 months, 1 year. Look at us over at Ambroise Method. Our cash flow goes to One Man Financial. We didn't even allow this account, which was the Regent's HELOC, the account that offered greater liquidity. We didn't even allow this account to keep the cash flow for one single day, let alone 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 1 year. Cash flow went to One Man Financial. Cash flow did not go to Regent's HELOC on our method. Why? Again, because we recognize that the effective rate, even if you were to dump to have an income so large and a cash flow equally as large as the income, okay? Your best case scenario is less than 3% in savings, or 9.22%. When you're losing 21% or 17% somewhere else on the Capital One. Okay, folks? Again, do not be an enemy to yourself. You can be trying to get rid of that, but you're going backwards instead. You know, it's nobody's fault. Okay? These folks, a lot of times, they don't want to run the numbers at all. They're just blindly doing things. Okay? They find themselves a little shiny object called Regent's HELOC because they can offer greater liquidity. Not even convenience. They want to dump all their income into an account that offers greater liquidity. That is, America, again, one of the worst things you could do. I mean, not one of the worst things you could do. The absolute worst things you could do. In this particular example. because you'll be going backwards for no reason. So no wonder why a lot of times the results of Velocity Banking Group is similar or worse than the results of that snowball group, similar or worse than the results of that avalanche group. Why? And again, a lot of times they're doing this nonsense about dumping all their income into an account that offers greater liquidity. And from past lesson, I talked about how Velocity Banking using 3 items, because these folks did chunk. They have a debt weapon, and they take advantage of cash flow. That snowball only takes advantage of cash flow. That avalanche only takes advantage of cash flow. So they are doing, that snowball group is doing one item, taking advantage of one item total. That avalanche taking advantage of one item total. All these folks doing, send minimum payment to every other account. For that snowball, the account that has the lowest balance, that's where cash flow needs to go. In the case of that avalanche, send minimum payment to every other account. The account that has a higher APR, that's where they send cash flow to. Velocity Banking on the other end is doing 3 different things. These folks, they are chunking. They're using a debt weapon, which is Regions HELOC in this example, and they're taking advantage of cash flow. So they're using 3 items. The other group are using just 1 item total. So 3 items versus 1 item. You should not have similar results or worse result than somebody using 1 item when you're using 3 items. And again, folks, 1, 2, 3. Chunking, that's 1. Debt weapon, that's 2. Cash flow, that's 3. Okay? Why? Because they're doing, a lot of times they're doing this nonsense. Dumping all their paycheck into an account. Okay? Using the wrong debt weapon. Using the wrong debt tools a lot of times. Using the debt tool that is at 12%. Okay? And again, folks, these are borrowed money. Interest. Interest is the cost of borrowing money. You borrow the money, they charge you interest. So why are you attacking, or why are you sending all your paycheck into an account that is at 12%? Okay? So you could improve the effective rate on that account. Why trying to improve the effective rate on an account that's already at 12%? The regular rate on that account is already so low. Why are you trying to improve it even more? It's already low to begin with. Try to improve the ones that are too high, not the one that is low to begin with. And again, folks, this is equivalent to madness. All right, America. I'll give you about 5-10 seconds to take a look at what's on the board, and then we're going to continue with the exercise. Again, America, to my financial coaches, and I'm talking about every single financial coach in America. Okay? Move over to a better debt repayment method, Ambroise Method. Okay? Don't be doing this nonsense that my competitors are doing. Debt snowball group, sending cash flow to lowest balance account. Okay? That's not gonna do anything at all. That avalanche group, sending cash flow to our APR account. Sending cash flow to our APR account by itself, not gonna do anything at all. And velocity banking group doing this nonsense, dumping all the income into an account that's already at a low APR, 12%. Okay? Improving that rate from 12% to 9%. The interest rate is already too low to begin with. So work on the higher ones. Okay? 33% first, and then 29% second. Okay? All right, financial coach. Move over to a better debt repayment method. All right, America. I think that's it for me today. Again, my name is James Ambroise. I am the author, creator of Ambroise Method 1.0 and Ambroise Method 2.0. Ambroise Method is a revolutionary debt repayment method that offers greater results in terms of reducing interest cost compared to debt snowball, debt avalanche, velocity banking. Thank you, Jesus. Until next time, America. Good morning.